Oh, yes, bro.
Wagwan.
Can you hear me?
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. We are
Yeah.
already recording. But I saw you the other day. How's your day been? There we go. Let's
It's
start.
good. I got this new pink Monster Factory jumper today. Very shit.
You're a real
Very
Billy
nice.
Boulder now.
Oh mate, yeah. I'm very
As
hardcore, bro. I don't even need to
peak
train to
Premier
failure.
Physique would say.
I don't need to train to failure anymore to prove that I'm hardcore. I've got a piercing and Monster Factory, so
I'm pretty sure. Well, I've got that jumper, but the writing is white.
oh, I like the
Absolutely.
black.
I've got coffee on it as well, but I have had it for like a year, so I'm not surprised.
Fucking coffee on it.
Yeah, I
How's
know.
your
My
day
mum was
been, bro?
supposed to be washing it, so she better have done a good job. I get treated when I'm at home. She does my washing and everything. To be honest, when I am rich, I am going to get somebody to wash my clothes for me because I hate it so much.
Yeah, valid. No, I back that.
Well, it's
It's
not
like
even putting them in the machine. It's the like folding them up and drying them and putting them away bit that I hate.
it's
Um,
like um it's like what Matt said, your coach, where he was like, people are like, oh, you have a cleaner, you're so lazy. And he's like, no, I've only got so much time on this earth and I can afford a cleaner. So why would I spend time doing something I don't want to do? And I was like, you know
yeah,
what?
bro, you could do like an extra 5 check-ins in that time. Of course, you get a
Literally, though.
cleaner.
No one enjoys cleaning. So like, why not pay someone else to do it if you can? Like, fair. I think that's valid.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
How's your day been, bro?
My day has been pretty sick. So what did I do this morning? Did something this I did all my content for next week because I'm an organized boy. So that is all scheduled in my draft. So if Instagram drops off the face of the planet, I wasted like 3 hours this morning. That doesn't happen, and hopefully it doesn't kick me out for some reason because that'd be really annoying. But it's never happened so far, so hopefully it will be all good. Then my family came around, as you would have seen on my close friend's story. My niece was doing my hair, so no, she's not my niece. She's my cousin. She's way younger than me. So that is why I am looking absolutely fly today. Definitely nothing to do with going to my barber. I've been loyal to him for the last 21 years of my life.
Ooh.
Aside from when I've been across the country and had to have somebody do my hair. I wasn't quite traveling home.
Should have traveled, bro.
But yeah, he's the best barber on the planet. He always has some incredible stories. It's always really, really good. And then yeah, after my family left, hopped on a setup call with a new client. So ready to smash the new year. And it's all looking pretty good, man.
Nice, man.
What have you been up to? Wait, have I already asked that?
Well, all I said is I got this hoodie, but I've been setting up.
Oh, that's all you've done today.
Yeah, I got a hoodie. I trained with a client today. I've been setting up 2 new clients, which is exciting. Yeah, I know. I did legs with my boy Will. That was rough. I'm setting up 2 new clients, and I've booked in a bunch of calls with the team to talk about kind of moving forward because, over Christmas, for a lot of people, we're kind of coming towards the end of certain phases, or we've been running a maintenance block. And so for those people where it's like, okay, we're at the end of a push-up or a diet, it's kind of what comes next. So having a little call to set out some plans for 2023. So I'm excited, man. Big shit in the works.
Yeah, that's something I always do, is have a call with somebody like when they change phases, because there's a lot of questions that sort of come up that you can't quite explain over just like a text or a voice note, and it's just best to sort of have that conversation in person. Yeah, it's a really good thing to do, to be fair.
Yeah.
Solid, mate. What was I going to say? I'm pretty sure it was going to be a ridiculous joke anyway. Oh, people that are, well, this is going to come out after the new year, but if you're looking to smash your January's resolutions, what you want to do is you want to click the link in Jack's bio, apply for him, click the link in my bio, apply for me, and whoever gets back to you first is who you work with.
Oh, I thought you were going to say just get coached by us both at the same time and then just do like 2 different plans at once.
Yeah, so what you do Monday is you do the upper body workout that Jack has given you, which always starts with delts. And on Tuesday, you do the upper body workout that I've given you. You actually end up training 8 days per week.
Yeah, man, exactly. That's so it's so optimal, so optimal.
Train the same muscle group 2 days in a row.
Yeah. And it'll be like I'll be like slightly lower volume than you, slightly higher intensity. It'll be like you'll have a session of like 1 RIR, and then your session will be like 3 RIR. They'll be like bouncing between RIR.
Okay, rate my intensity when we train together though.
Oh mate, you were fucking spot on, bro. Right, people who train at RIR are way more dialed in with like training to failure. Like
oh, I don't know, mate. I've seen some people that train RIR. You might have seen my rant about this the other week, but there's this girl that I follow, right?
Yeah.
And she's been lifting the same weight for the last like 4 mesocycles. And her failure reps aren't like slow grind. Like there's a little bit of a rep speed drop off. I'd literally say like the rep gets probably a quarter as long as it was in the first one, and then she just hits a random sticking point. I'm like, yeah, that definitely wasn't failure. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so
I almost never give people RIR off the bat, especially because like most of the clients I kind of run into, normally they've got that unintentional RIR. So if you tell them train to failure, they end up periodizing their intensity anyway.
I get what you mean. I've given it to one client over the last year.
Yeah.
And that's because he trains harder than me.
Yeah.
So it needed to be done.
The only clients that I've seen who are really good at intensity, who I would give RIR to, prefer intensity. So I give them intensity. But yeah, the thing is, I think there is a lot of merit to finding your failure and then kind of going off of that. Like just do like even Dr. Mike and RPE talk about it. Just do a mesocycle of constantly trying to progress until you run yourself almost into the ground or into the ground, and then you've got your failure numbers, and then you can work off of them. You can be like, okay, take away 3 reps, that's the start of this block kind of thing.
Yeah, so that's sort of what I've done, because I was on the same training block for like 9 weeks straight or something like that, which is absolutely horrendous. So it was like I started off at 3, then went 2, 2, 1, 1, and then just died for like the last 3 weeks. It was great. But it wasn't volume escalation, so that's the only reason why I survived. It was so funny actually, right? So this was my second set on the hack yesterday, and I saw Adam walk past, and he sort of looked at me in the mirror like during the middle of my set, and then he walked back, got his plate, leaned it up against something, and stood next to the hack, and I just looked at him. I was like, bro, it's 2 RL this week, I'm really sorry. And he was like, oh no, it was so funny though. I forgot how sort of like boring it is not training to failure, because I was like, oh, the set's just starting to get exciting now. I'm like, oh wait, this is like probably 2 reps in reserve, I should stop.
I always train probably at least probably the lowest RIR I intentionally go is 2, although I'm sure I've done sets that I think are failure that aren't. I think.
What do you mean highest?
Yes.
Highest R. Yeah, lowest R. No, that would also be highest.
Lowest intensity.
Yeah,
I go is typically 2 RIR.
If you were trying to gauge reps in reserve before you start to see that rep slow down, you've got no fucking idea.
Yeah.
And beyond sort of like 3 reps is when I tend to see that personally. So if I was trying to gauge it beyond that, but yeah, looking at sort of last week's or 2 weeks ago's performance essentially is I brought the load down by a little bit, so 1.25 kilos or 2.5 kilos, and then minus a rep. So accounting for a little bit of adaptation in there, and potentially some less load as well. And I find that helps to keep technique better as well, because yes, I did 2 less reps on the hack, but I also actually paused at the bottom.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a positive. I'm just going to grab some water, but have a little ramble of the sink literally there. So I'll be about 2 seconds. But have a little ramble, and then we can get into some questions. Oh no, wait, actually, should we talk about Christmas?
I mean, I don't know. I was going to ramble on about Luke talking about how he's paused his hacks. I think a lot of people
pause the thing,
a lot of people kind of, and the main reason that I don't post a lot of like, oh, I've added a ton of kilos to my lifts, is because majority of the work that I probably do with clients is kind of scaling things back in terms of load, but increasing the stimulus that they're getting from it. So a lot of people, I've had clients be like, yeah, bro, I'm a 4-plate hack squatter and I want to get to 5. And I'm like, calm, let's see you move 4 plates. And it is moving 4 plates. And I'm like, okay, have you considered, and of course, those same people are like, yeah, my knees hurt, my hips hurt. And I'm like, okay, let's add a pause, let's slow that eccentric, maybe let's decrease the rest at the top, or just standardize it. And then those people turn into 2-plate hack squatters, but their legs blow up. And so, yeah, I think that's something like always to consider, is don't think about the load. I think about load as calories. It's kind of, there's an appropriate amount to you. You don't want to go under, you don't want to go over. It's about using it to create a stimulus. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I completely get what you mean. I was going to say the 2 like most common messages I get are those eccentrics look like they suck and your calves are huge. Those are the 2 messages I get.
I don't get people who are trying to build muscle who don't do slow eccentrics. Because if you just talk to them, you're like, why don't you want to slow that down? Like, why don't you want to do a slow squat? And they're like, because it hurts. And I'm like, what do you think is happening when it hurts? Like, why are you avoiding that? You're trying to make this hard. You're trying to create a stimulus. So you want it to be hard. You want this to be a challenging set so that you adapt. And at the same time, you're trying to make half of the lift easy. I don't get it. I've never understood that mindset.
Yeah, I don't really get it either, mate. But it does burn like absolute fuck. Like, especially in the higher reps as well. I got to like 10 on the hack. And I was like, okay, this pump is really not fun.
Yeah,
but it's also good.
Did you want to, you mentioned about Christmas. Did you want to talk about Christmas?
Yeah, I was just going to say one thing about, because you mentioned sort of like having the appropriate amount of calories for you, and you don't want to go over and you don't want to go under. Yeah. And something I see sort of quite a lot when new clients first come to me is they're like, oh, I did great, I'm like under my calories, and I look and it's like 500 under. I'm like, that's not necessarily a good thing, because that means that you probably haven't got enough, like even if you've got enough protein, you probably haven't got enough carbohydrates, which you need to fuel your training. You probably haven't got enough dietary fat to meet your sort of minimum requirements for health. And if that's a consistent thing, you're going to see negative adaptations over the long term. Like, yes, you might see a little bit faster fat loss at that point in time, but the calories are at that number for a reason. Please stick to them.
Yeah, as well, like it's if you play your cards too early, you haven't got anything later on. If you ram yourself down on the low end of calories, you're going to hit a wall in fat loss, or just feeling good like a human being. You're going to hit that wall very, very quickly. So yeah, calories are not something to over or undershoot on purpose. They're more something to meet dead on, really, as much as possible. But you don't want to be too anal about it. You're probably going to fluctuate a bit.
Yeah, because like legally there's allowed to be a 20% variance in what's in your food when you track it. So we're never going to be bang on, but that if you're eating the same things consistently, that variance is always the same, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, like one day you might be 5 calories over, one day you might be 5 calories under. It's not the end of the world. I sort of like to go within the range of, say, like plus minus 5 to 10%.
Yeah.
Sort of where you're at, if that makes sense. And just on the topic of sort of throwing all your what's the word, everything out of the shed in one go, I don't know, throwing everything at it, whatever you want to talk about, kitchen sink approach. I think there is something to, like, for example, the start of a prep where you've got loads of energy, food's really high, like get a load of fat off there. But most people who want to go through a dieting phase don't have all those tools available, and they're also like the prospect of dieting to them isn't necessarily exciting. They know it's going to be quite difficult. Whereas if you get me at the end of a gaining phase, you're like, you're going to diet. I'm like, hell yes. When can I start? Can I start right now? But yeah, going on to Christmas. How was your Christmas, bro?
Yeah, man, really, really nice. I got to link up with my family, which is always nice.
I'll say that. Say
that. I'm quite ill, and I was quite ill. So I really struggled to get food in. So I ended up just kind of on balance, holding the same. I know
you struggle to eat.
I know.
Mad.
that's when you know that's when you know something's wrong.
When Jack has no appetite, it's not good.
Well, like it was lower. I mean, I still held body weight. So, but mate, all in all, I wasn't even fussed about it. I was like, it is what it is. And yeah, I mean, from what I can see from everyone who's checked in as well, seems like everyone's really kind of found their balance, what they're happy with, which is fantastic to see, because there were a couple of people that I was kind of checking in on, because I was like, oh, how are you feeling? Because there's always going to be some where they get a bit stressed around Christmas. But how about you, man?
Yeah, this has probably been like one of my best Christmases. Yeah, I got asked the other day to describe it in one word, and sort of what came to mind was refreshing, in the sense of like to see all of your family and spend time with them. And I did a pretty good job, especially for me, of not being on my phone the whole time. Like I still posted stories, but most of them went out in the morning, and then I did some in the evening when other people were doing other stuff. And I'm really happy with how I managed it, especially compared to 2 years ago, where I literally went off the deep end and I had like 7,000 calories, and I tracked it all. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you tracking 7,000 calories? Whereas I didn't track for Christmas Day or Boxing Day. Then on the, was it 27th or the 28th, I weighed myself and I was the same. I'm like, oh, banging, mindful eating for the win. And I didn't feel guilty at all about sort of not tracking anything, which I think was, really, really, really nice. And on the topic of like clients as well, nobody checked in and was like, yeah, I gained a fuck ton of weight. Like one of my clients said last week, like he sort of got the data from Christmas last year, if that makes sense. And he was like, yeah, I gained 7 pounds that week. And then this one, he was like 0.2 kilo difference to last week, which we know in the grand scheme of things is fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Like that's you'd expect to be within that range if you're looking to maintain anyway.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
So yeah,
mate, I
banging
think
week for me, banging week for the team. Can't complain.
I think what's kind of I'm speaking for both of us here, so tell me if I'm wrong, but I think we've both had
you are, to be fair, so I will.
we've both had a much better like approach to Christmas. I feel like we've both been really, really good with our approaches. So I think that kind of reflects on our clients. If you've got a coach who's not really stressed about Christmas, they're kind of just there to enjoy it, see their family, but not take the piss. I think that kind of helps as a client. I know that as well, being a client, like seeing Liam be relaxed as well, kind of about his Christmas, and just kind of being like, I'm just here to see family and eat some food and kind of live my life and be a normal person. That kind of made me feel more relaxed, rather than, if your coach is out there being like, track it, or like binge, it's kind of going to play into your head a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Like everybody wants to have a different approach. Like I know some people who did track on Christmas Day and they were fine by doing that, but it's not something that I want to do. And that's not because I'm like, oh, there's fucking 150 calories in one thing of Toblerone. Like that's so scary. No, I had like 3 bits. It was nice, but I didn't want any more than that. It is fucking wild, the calories in chocolate and that sort of thing, though. It tastes so good. But I remember when I was like, well, shorter or littler than I currently am. But this, like, the gap between Toblerone was like that, and now it's like fucking this big. You get like 5 bits in a whole bar. I'm like, you cheeky bastards, because they up the price and then they reduce the amount of chocolate. I'm like, this is not fair,
mate. It's unreal. The thigh gap on Toblerone now. Toblerone needs to train our doctors. That's what I'm seeing.
Basically. That's the title for this episode. I'm writing it down now.
What, the thigh gap?
Thigh gap on. Yes.
Okay, now we've done it, boys.
Train adductors for sure, bro.
Yeah, man. Oh, cry. It's actually so sad. It's like the price of a Freddo. Everyone talks about it. Mate, they're going to be like £10 soon. They used to be what, like 5p or something silly. Now they're like 25, 30. What is the point, bro? Honestly.
Let's not talk about the cost of living crisis and all of that.
Yeah, true. Did you get any questions upon your question box?
I didn't even check, I didn't even fucking shit coach me, mate.
Habit building, bro.
Honestly, bro. I posted a fucking shitload of stories as well, so let me find that. I've got a couple from that I've just sort of banked up that I thought would be interesting.
Yeah.
So What do
Fire
we
'em off.
Wait, I posted this. Oh no, it is still live. No, nobody put anything in. Cheers, guys.
Hey,
Thank you. Great followers. Thank you very much.
call them out,
Instagram
bro.
is spanking me on the story views at the moment, actually. I don't
Yeah,
know what
same.
I've done. So I
Well,
didn't post for a day the other week and I got 500 story views. And then like when I post consistently, I get like 200 or 300. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense.
yeah, man. Mine's been the same. To be fair, that post that I did with the catabolic meetup, that absolutely juiced.
Yeah, my transformation hit like almost 200 as well.
Wait, let's see your transformation. Oh, yes. Ah, I see. Holy shit, man.
Yeah.
I saw that on your story, but I haven't liked the post. I've just liked it now.
Oh, wow. So you're a shit friend.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Well, I saw
Okay.
you in person, so I've kind of ticked the boxes, kind of done.
Right. Question from me then. What is something you sort of learn or took away from when we trained together? Is there anything profound? Or am I a shit training partner?
I don't know if I wouldn't say I learned anything profound, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I'd say that I learned that you're exactly who I thought you were, which is fantastic because I like you. I was a bit worried because I was like, is this how it dies? Is Luke going to be like, this guy's a fucking weirdo? I don't want to see him.
Well, I am, but yeah.
No, I thought me and John were on the way there, and we were like, what if Luke doesn't like us? We were panicking, bro. But yeah, I mean, we just kind of like trained and chatted shit. We didn't really talk anything too deep, I don't think. You're really, really good at posing and very good at posing coaching. Maybe something you could do down the line. Who knows? You helped me out a lot.
Bro, there's people fucking way better than me. Just hit up. What episode did we have him on? Was it like 4 or 5? Rye Brambleby.
Oh God, I don't know.
Spend 5 minutes with the man and he transforms your pose. You know the cue that I gave you about pushing your hips backwards in the back double on the back. That's all him.
Fair, but I mean that's how you become a good posing coach. Is be coaches. It's kind of how the same how you become a good coach is like self-educate.
Oh, bro, that is my biggest fucking pet peeve.
What?
Shithole of an industry.
What?
Coaches that don't have coaches that have never had a coach.
Yeah,
I'm like, how can you deliver a service that you haven't experienced?
Yeah, trust. Or people that prescribe things that they haven't tried in some form themselves. People that like train their clients a certain way, but they haven't trained that way, or kind of even like, okay, you talked to me about people in the industry that who give training plans but don't train themselves or don't appear to train.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
How in, because imagine you're getting like a training plan or a nutrition plan and you're like you're gonna have they have no clue what their client is experiencing. No clue. They can't relate. Like there's such a huge difference between writing a plan and knowing, what would that feel like? How would that flow? When you're progressing volume, progressing intensity, telling people to change their form, how are you able to say that without having done it yourself? I don't.
Yeah, and even then, you learn stuff that works well for the average person. But random name, I don't know. Paul comes along, and actually, the session which 5 out of 6 people, that's such a weird statistic, get on really well with. Paul doesn't, and you have to change it because everybody's different. Yeah. But if you don't even have that sort of foundation in terms of training yourself and fucking knowing what you're doing, how on earth can you give people guidance?
Yeah, like
that's actually my biggest pet peeve.
Yeah, the amount of times that like people will give feedback, kind of say like, oh, on this movement I feel this, or kind of, and I'll be like, okay, I've had something similar, or I can see where that would come from. But imagine like you've never deadlifted in your life, and on Paul's pull day he's got deadlifts and he's saying, oh, my lower back hurts, and you look at his form and you've never deadlifted. How do you critique that? How do you tell him what to do? How do you break down why is he feeling back pain? If you've never like deadlifted or just if you've never stepped into a gym and you're telling people how to like train and giving them a plan, baffles.
I haven't deadlifted since like 2020.
Yeah, me neither. I don't deadlift it.
You should have put that in your post, things that need to stay in 2022 deadlifts.
Nah, because I
Everybody would murder you.
I don't think necessarily. I don't think there's anything too wrong with them. I think there's better movements. It's kind of like
Yeah.
anything with SBD. Like if you want to do it, do it. But you know,
Yeah, because I think that for me personally, I get on reasonably well with bench press. I could probably use it as a decent hypertrophy movement, but if you give me a fucking barbell squat, like nothing is going to happen. Nothing is happening.
For me, with the big three, squats kind of grew my glutes. They grew my quads okay, but mainly my glutes. Bench and deadlifts grow me well, but they're both like I had really high injury risk with both of those movements. Even like a dumbbell press feels so much more comfortable on my shoulders. And with barbell hinges, I just don't seem to get on that well with them. I have to be very, very anal with my execution and my technique. And there's very, very little room for error. And so I can't take the intensity as far as I'd like to, because I'm kind of like I start to lose my position, and that's really risky for me. So I'm definitely more of a fan of like a hyperextension, because it's just a much safer position for me and there's a better runway long term.
Yeah, like if we take the example of, say, the chest press that we were using the other day, Nautilus Nitro flat chest press, fucking best piece of kit on the planet.
So nice.
What are you thinking about on that last rep there? You're not thinking about, is what happens if the bar goes this way and smashes me in the face? No, you're thinking about, why do my pecs hurt so much?
Yeah.
And then you still go for another rep anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like
those last 2 reps were 28 seconds long.
Hey,
it's so ridiculous. I posted it on TikTok earlier. Well, no, I haven't posted it. I've drafted it.
Mate, that's how long some people do like 10 rep sets for, and to failure, to near failure.
Yeah, I remember Pete posted a little while ago as well, that he was like, oh, people will train to failure and then they'll like jump up and start skipping about immediately after, and it's like,
yeah,
I just loved at the end of that set, I watched the video back and I just like sit over the handles and look like I'm about to cry.
Yeah, like
So fun.
I don't think people realize kind of what training to failure, other than like probably isolations or for small muscle groups, like it's very, very taxing. You need like the first 30 seconds after that set, you're not quite human yet. You need some time. And depending on the movement, it might be a lot longer than 30 seconds where you're just not there, not present at all. Like a hack squat set, probably the first 2 minutes, I'm not there. But after like a chest press, probably after a minute, I'm starting to like feel like Jack again.
You know what? I reckon my favorite thing about reps in reserve is that you don't get that whole body fatigue, like not only after a set, but also after a session. Because I did legs to 2 RAR. I came out and I was driving in the car. I'm like, I've got more energy now. Like, I feel like I can go and do stuff. And the whole session took me like an hour because I didn't feel written off and have to wait like 5 minutes. I honestly think, yeah, that's my favorite thing about training with reps in reserve, is that you don't feel absolutely ruined afterwards.
That and it's
unless you do death week, that is not fair.
I like reps in reserve. I like because when I do reps in reserve, I kind of switch between them. Like if I'm specializing, then it's normally reps in reserve. I like, you don't feel battered, and it's so much easier to set performance baselines. Like the quality of reps feels so much better start to finish. So like even when I'm like meant to be training to failure, I'll still now kind of hold back a rep or two first week just to set a really clean baseline. Because I feel like training to failure in that first week, especially when you're new to that piece of kit, it's far too easy to kind of lose position, cheat rep, whatever, just kind of not have the quality of execution that you should have.
Yeah, because I find my mindset shifts from I need to get as many reps as possible to I need to make every rep I'm doing as hard as possible. Because it becomes so easy to stop doing that pause in the bottom of the hack squat to get another extra rep. And another thing is failure when you're training by yourself, and failure when you've got like a spotter or somebody you sort of know around you that you want to, like, you want them to know that you're not training like a pussy and that sort of thing. Like it's not quite the same thing. You start to get that mental gear up, if that makes sense.
yeah, like as much as kind of people don't want to admit it, I think, probably me and you and John, we probably all trained to some degree harder than we would have if we were in that gym on our
Oh
own.
yeah, I would have done 2 reps in reserve if I wasn't training with you guys.
Yeah, but even like training to failure on purpose, I know that I definitely trained harder than I probably would have, because when you're there with your mates, with people who also train hard, you don't want to be the one guy that doesn't, you know. So it's yeah, I find personally, like, I'm not a big fan of training on my own. I like to, even if there's just people that I know in the gym, I prefer that kind of being witnessed, and like knowing that, oh, I could be in the corner of someone's eye. I need to fucking up my game here. That helps me massively.
Yeah, I completely get what you mean.
Yeah, man. I've got 2 questions from the box. One
Oh,
is,
your followers are better than mine.
I know, one's rhetorical and one's from a personal friend who he stresses over this question so much, and I've already answered it. But anyway, so the first one's from Liam, and he says words to the effect of, "How are you letting Luke out angle you like that on the picture of us three?" And the first thing is, it's Christmas, it's a time of giving, and that's my way of giving back to Luke.
That doesn't even make any sense though.
Yeah, bro, I'm giving you the angle. It's a time of giving.
What, when it was us three standing together?
Yeah, me, you,
Yeah,
John.
because you fucking stood in front of me. I was like, this is not happening.
Yeah,
I'm shorter. There is no way you are standing in front of me.
When we did the back double, and like the first time I got behind you and you were like, nah.
Yeah. When I screenshotted that on my phone, I can't remember if I posted that one on my story or not, but I screenshotted it before you stepped by.
Of course you did. Bro, I felt so lanky and so not filled out next to you. You're stacked, man. Jesus.
Tom says this to me all the time, and I think it's normal because you just don't see how you really look, do you? Like,
yeah, I think for me the biggest thing, that I know that my arms are weak, but next to you, my arms looked very weak. I think to me they were. The rest of it, I was like, no, I just need to get bigger. But that one muscle, especially front double, I was like, yeah, your arms murder mine.
when you said to me on the single arm row, you were like, bro, your delts and arms.
Yeah.
I literally thought the same thing on the previous set. Because you always, like, I always look at people's triceps, for example, because I think my triceps fucking suck. And you never sort of see your physique objectively, because obviously it's how you look. And I think there's a spectrum between being really self-critical and being like, I'm the dog's bollocks, I'm the best thing since sliced bagels, or something like that. And
it's like the bodybuilder equivalent of bread.
yeah. Do you know what? This is so dumb as well. We can go back to the conversation about self-doubt in a moment. But this is right, proper dumb. So I went to Aldi before Christmas. I got 2 packs of bagels, and I checked the date on one of them, and it was like the 2nd of next month, January. And I was like, oh, Sam, I'll just get 2 of those. So I got the one next to it, and I was eating it the other day, and I was like, this bagel tastes proper stale, Like, it just didn't taste very good. I checked the other packet, and it was like the 22nd of December. So for the last like 3 days, I've been eating bagels that are like almost a week out of date, but they still taste all right.
Yeah, they'll just be stale. Just toast them, man. Be fine.
Yeah, I toasted them and they were sound, but the New York ones are by far the best. So I bought like 3 of those because they're on Club Card price, so 2 are in the freezer.
Facts, bro. I respect that.
But yeah, self-doubt is not a fun one.
No.
I remember when you messaged me the other week when I did a post sort of about that. And I think it's something that isn't spoken about a lot, because like, especially sort of being in this industry and Instagram as well, it's a highlight reel. Everything is fucking rosy all the time. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Like, there are, I would say more often than not, I look at photos of myself and go, that's shit.
Yeah, 100% me too. Photos of me, not of you.
I do that when I look at you though. I'm like, he's fucking small.
Yeah, I don't blame you, mate. Me too. Yeah, like that's the thing is everyone on Instagram, whether they know it or not, is trying to present a kind of a twisted form of reality, because you're not going to, or majority of people aren't going to post just randomly what would be the words, unbiased, like here's a good day, here's a shit day, here's a good day, here's a shit day. You might get people nowadays kind of try and deliberately share, oh, I'm having self-doubt, like you did, and kind of talk about it more, but majority of people were just like, yeah, killing it, whatever. You know, they're just trying to post. They post the good workouts. They post when their physique is looking fantastic. They don't post that PR that they failed, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, because like everybody wants to look good. And I think there's also an issue as well with sometimes when people do share something negative, everyone's like, oh, it's just for sympathy.
You what? I missed that.
Like, oh, it's just for sympathy. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
oh, I'm having a fucking shit day.
Yeah, and people, yeah, social media is a strange one, because also people will feel comfortable saying stuff to you that they wouldn't say in person. So some people are very critical. So I think, you know, if you post something negative or even positive, you're going to get some criticism eventually. So if you post something critical, I think that criticism cuts a lot deeper, especially if you're kind of putting yourself out there. But yeah, man, you're right. But yeah, that post you made about self-doubt, that was like that really helped me personally.
I'm glad I could be of assistance, bro.
Yeah, bro. Because I was like, oh, this guy's getting self-doubt just like man. I was like, we're on the same level. Crazy.
Mate, everyone, I get it. Like literally people who are miles ahead of us that I've spoken to still get it. And it's so normal.
Yeah, that's Matt, like Christian getting like a bit of self-doubt before doing a talk about coaching. I was like, bro, you're Christian Chapman, are you okay? Like, geez, man.
Yeah, it's a mental one, but it's definitely a lot more common than you think. What was the other question you got then?
This is there's a bit of a backstory to this. So this is a mate of mine, and he asked, is there any hypertrophy benefit to pausing in the short, as in the short and range? And he asked Liam this question, and this was in DMs, and Liam responded, I think kind of off the cuff, off the top of his head, kind of like, nah, there's no benefit, all length and range. And I've said to him, you know, mate, I think he just was, you know, you ask someone a DM, they're sat on the sofa, they're going to go to bed, they just kind of quickly pop out an answer. Sometimes it happens to the best of us. But I think if he took the time to think about it, he would be like, oh, there are some cases, but generally we kind of want to be in the mid and lengthened range. But what would you say to that question, bro?
So should you pause in the shortened position?
So
as you say,
is there any benefit?
Is there any benefit to pausing in the shortened position? Okay. I think it is very, very movement dependent. So if I give you the example of a hack squat, if you're resting at the top of a hack squat for 10 seconds, yeah, you're sort of in that shortened position, so to speak, but there's not any challenge there. And especially if it's later in your session, it doesn't make sense because your reps aren't going to be as continuous. You're effectively making the whole set a rest pause set. Whereas if you're doing a leg extension, which is more challenging in that shortened position right at the start of the session, then yeah, potentially some benefit. And the same sort of thing, like, does it make sense to pause at the top of a Smith press or a barbell press where it's not converging, where you're not getting fully short anyway? No, not really. It's dependent upon the movement. And it's something which you want to do towards the start of the session where the muscle's fresh, where you can still get things short. But predominantly, if you're going to pause anywhere, length and position is where it's going to be at. And one last thing I will say on that as well is I find, especially on more posterior stuff, pausing in that shortened position, say on hamstring curl, especially lying, or like what's the word I'm looking for? Pull down, row. I don't know. Anything like that smashes my elbows. And well, obviously my knee, if it's a lying leg curl, not my elbow, because that's a knee. But yeah, sometimes it can give you joint discomfort. And now you say it, somebody actually asked me this question the other week as well. But it was sort of, I replied to a question and then he asked that off the back of it, because he asked me for tips to grow your calves, bro. because my
Damn,
client.
that's a compliment. That's a
But
compliment.
yeah, I basically said like, keep it mega slow, pause at the bottom, pause at the top. And then he was like, oh, should I be doing that on everything? If that makes sense. And we led into that discussion. Wow, that was a really long-winded answer. But movement dependent. And if you're going to do it towards the start of the session where your ability to get the muscle short is going to be at its highest. Gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. So my response to him, because he's asked me this in person, I was like, it can help you with standardizing your form. So making sure that you're at that end range of motion. Dumbbell lateral raise, maybe it makes sense to spend just a half a second getting it all the way up, making sure you're fully there. Same for a leg extension, making sure that you're at lockout or just shy wherever you personally end it. For lat and upper back work, again, it might help you kind of stay more biased towards that target muscle. So in a lat pull down, just spending half a second there. And again, if it's challenging the shorten range at the start, yeah, makes sense too. And what was the other one I was going to say? Oh yeah, if it's like say a hack squat or a press, you don't want to spend ages there. But if you're someone who finds that kind of they struggle with continuous reps for whatever reason, spending a second, half a second, probably 1.5 seconds max, I guess, at the top can help, especially with a hack. If you're kind of still getting used to higher rep ranges or you're gassing out, it might make sense to have a half a second rest at the top. But yeah, there's no real tension there. That's kind of more just to rest for a sec, but you don't want to be doing that forever. Like you said, you don't want it to be a rest pause set, because we still want it to be stimulating and not a million like approaches to failure. We don't want every rep to be like an approach to failure.
When I forget in a second, remind me about how much I hate intensity techniques, and I'll explain why in a moment. But what I was gonna say, unless I've forgotten the first thing I was gonna say, which I don't think I have. Yeah, the standardization is a really, really good point. And it's definitely something I would encourage to those of you who are fairly new to training, is making sure that your reps are at that good point. Whereas now I'm confident in my ability to not like fuck myself over in the long term by cheating myself into getting progress week on week by cutting my range of motion short and those sorts of things. And another thing is, I was like, you may have seen, for example, when I do my Smith presses, always tends to be a really good example, is the speed drop off on that is so big. And like, I'll get to my lockout and that first lockout is literally boom and back down.
Yeah.
Because there's no point in being there. Whereas the last one, like the rep is grinding, and then I'll still come back down. Another thing I have noticed I do actually is those last couple of eccentrics, I actually take a bit slower.
Yeah, me too.
And I literally just think it's to sort of prepare yourself to be ready at the bottom, if that makes sense. It's going to fucking suck. Like, especially on something like a leg press, I've noticed that I do take them slower to make sure that I like don't get fucked up.
Yeah, that's something that I do as well. I think that's okay, again, as long as you're not serious, as long as there's not a massive difference from start to end with eccentric, I think it's okay. And as long as it's kind of not costing you the rep potentially, but I think it's rare to see someone on their final rep just eccentric for so long that it's like a piss take.
Yeah, most people are dive bombing it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what my cat's doing.
What did you want to say about intensity techniques? I'm
right. So
on
the topic of going into like rest pauses and drop sets and that sort of thing, you have no business doing any intensity technique if you don't train close to failure anyway. I see this all the time because people will sandbag that first set so that they can do the 3 drops that they've got planned. But if that first set was 3 reps in reserve anyway, what the fuck are you getting out of a drop set?
Yeah.
Like that, that's literally all I want. What is my cat doing? Barley?
Yeah, in intensifiers need to be like anything, they need to be in appropriate proximity to failure for the intensifier, and they need to be controlled. If you're dive bombing the weight with 10 reps in reserve and you're doing that 3 times with 15 seconds rest, you're not growing any more fibers than if you were just doing straight sets. It's fucking pointless.
I still prefer straight sets outside of when there's serious time constraints.
Yeah, my go-to,
you get more quality work out of them.
Yeah, Absolutely. My go-to is straight sets if we're time limited, or if your psychology prefers intensifiers, which some people they do, like giving someone a rest pause sets or a rest pause set of 3 mini sets, 20 seconds apart, is a great way of, for some people, getting 3 approaches to failure within around 2 minutes, which they are able to get high quality work out of. They're able to take it closer than jumping on and knowing, okay, I've got to do 3 separate sets now, all with a rest between. So the kind of the 2 places that I'm not going for straight sets is if your psychology prefers it, and if you're time constrained, if you're time limited.
Yeah, you just slap on some Adele and then you're ready to go. Like, that's what you need.
Yeah, mate.
I remember once Matt gave me, I think it started off as a 2-point Myo rep rest pause in week 1, and then added, it went to 3-point, and then I think it was 3 again, and then 4 on a chest press. And I wanted to end my soul because it just hurt so much.
Yeah.
Like, I got off it. I'm like, I'm never training chest again. Like, like, bro, it was so painful. But it also gave me like 5 approaches to failure in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then that was my chest work done for the session.
Yeah, rest pause sets for people who are low on time, if you're able to do them well, they are such a life hack. You can get approaches to failure done so rapidly.
I completely agree. Right, bro. Yeah. I reckon we call it a day there, because that was about 45 minutes.
Fair.
I've heard that's good for the algorithm and all that.
Oh, he knows.
And to be honest, I think if we try and tackle more questions now, I'm in a chat shit kind of mood, and it's not going to be you.
Yeah, there's nothing
utter bollocks today.
Nothing productive is going to happen. We're just going to rant about Toblerone thigh gap or something.
Yeah, that is if you don't make that the title, I'm going to throw hands.
It's done. I hope if this episode juices, we know why. It's all title, bro.
This episode is up. What's our highest ranking one so far? Wasn't it like 30 views?
Oh my god, you're testing me. I'm having to open Google Chrome real quick.
Oh, it's nothing major. I was thinking about that. I was saying to somebody, I was like, there's not that many views. But then I was like, hang on a second. If like 30 people were sat in front of me listening to me speak, I'd be fucking shitting myself.
Yeah, mate, trust. So our best is, oh my god, our best is 50, episode 5. Break down your goals to achieve them.
Big Ollie.
Is that with was that with Ollie?
That was with Ollie. I swear it was.
Yeah. Special guest episode, hybrid training. That was Ollie. Fair play.
Yeah,
it was.
I actually got some proper good feedback on that one as well.
Really?
We need to have him back on. Actually.
What did people say? Yeah, we do need him back on. Actually,
did they comment?
What do you mean?
Oh, you mean when they were just like, really good episode. It was good to get like a different perspective.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So basically, loads of our listeners are into hybrid.
Fair. We'll just juice Ollie. We'll just make him the 4th member of Catabolic Window. Easy done.
Yeah, fair. Job done. We do need to arrange having him back on, to be fair. Right. Thank you everybody for listening. Tag us in pictures of your Toblerone. Tag us on your stories of you listening to the podcast, and go and train your adductors so that you don't have a small thigh gap.
Yeah, and intra-workout Toblerone if you're training adductors, please, guys. I want at least one person take a Toblerone to the gym and train your adductors and tag us. If you tag us, I don't know, something will happen, but I'll be gassed. I don't know what. I can't guarantee anything, but I will be gassed. Know that. I'll be so fucking gassed.
Oh my days. Right. See you all later.